What the fuck did you just say?
It's pretty dynamite.
Oh, I'm glad we started the show that way. Welcome, everybody. Hell yeah, Matt. What show is this?
This is Give
Me,
the,
controller.
and it's a special chat show. We're not doing our usual gameplay today because today is actually a very special day. It is the host, Nate.
One of them.
It's his birthday.
Oh, thanks, buddy. That's right. It is my birthday. It's my 33rd birthday. Thank you to everyone for the well wishes. Do you have headphones you can plug in?
I do not.
Oh, all right. Well, we're gonna get a lot of feedback apparently.
I could go back downstairs and get my Bluetooth ones, but again, that's going to take battery from me. So,
Okay.
um,
All right. Well,
yeah, I'm still not getting no internet on my computer. So,
whatever. We'll have to gorilla this stuff, but that's all right. I don't mind because with how good I am at OBS now, I
what does that mean? Gorilla it? That sounds aggressive and it sounds insensitive.
gorilla, not gorilla.
Aggressive. The root of gorilla is war. So,
Right. What you just what I guess what I meant to say is persevere.
Hmm.
All right, so let's go ahead and get
on
to
this birthday. Yeah. So we're gonna have to do it because it's your birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Nate.
Happy birthday
to you.
Oh, that's sweet. That's sweet. Thank you.
That wasn't so bad, actually.
No, you didn't sound bad. You got to work on that daddy singing now.
I've been singing to Zeppelin.
Of course you have. So what's up, man? How you been? What are you working on? With controller chats.
What am I working on?
With controller chats, it's not supposed to be one thing or another. We can just talk about whatever.
Well, I saw an article that I haven't read yet. It was from a lady who works at NASA, and she wrote about in defense of easy mode on video games. And again, I haven't read the article, so I'm not gonna. This is not me talking about the article, but it's me talking about the idea of easy mode. And if I could bring it back to Final Fantasy IV, there's one mode. There's just Final Fantasy IV. You don't get an option what you do. And that was most video games growing up. You think about Legend of Zelda, the first one. I mean, that was brutal. Dragon Quest, brutal. You put up with it. You grinded. You worked on developing a narrow skill.
You got better. You practiced.
To get through it. Right, practice. And I'm not saying it's better or worse, because on the flip side, I've had instances where a game's been too hard for my experience. Remember back in the Spider-Man game, Galactus. I first tried in hard mode, and I really did hit a wall.
The mighty Thor.
And then when I was in college, my buddy had Oblivion, and I wanted to play it, and I wanted to beat it, but I had a very limited window of time because college was ending. So I cranked it down to the lowest setting just so I could experience the story. Because while games have given us the option of easy modes, a lot of games also have fleshed out the stories, made stories better, made games worth experiencing from a story point of view, not just from a mechanics point of view, or exploration like you would have in Zelda, for instance. So for that reason, I honestly do agree that, there should be easy mode, because games shouldn't be just for one person. The more games you can make accessible, simply by turning a variable up or down, there's no reason not to,
So I'm giving you the quiet woke clap into the mic.
I'm not saying anything I think a lot of people haven't already thought of. People smarter than me, people more articulate than me.
Sure.
But just as someone who's often characterized, I think rightfully so, as just kind of the normal white guy, because I thankfully don't have, in my opinion, a lot of issues that would get in the way with me experiencing games as they're designed. That doesn't mean they shouldn't be designed with someone else in mind also. So, and it doesn't take anything away from me if I just select my difficulty level. I mean, whatever. That's like the easiest thing in the world for me to do. So put that option in there, and don't stop there. Build in, as some recent companies have done, build in options for people with can't react as quickly. They see color spectrum differently.
I believe you're talking about
Auditory
Naughty
processing
Dog and the game that I
I
won't
believe I
stop
am.
talking about. Can't stop,
I
won't
know.
stop.
I didn't want to say the name, but that goes a long way, and it's unfortunately nothing I truly considered in designing the few games I have, because I do put auditory clues in there without any sort of visual component or tactile component that would provide a similar level of information for people who couldn't process on that channel.
Right.
Again, I can process on a lot of different channels, people can't, and it. If you want someone to enjoy your game as much as the next person, you have to do that. How does it affect the bottom line? I don't know. I'm not an engineer. I don't have to program those in. But all I can think of is if more people can buy your game, you're going to sell more games. So I don't want to make the merit only on, oh, it's good economics, because it's good social and moral standing. And that, I think, trumps economics for me, 9 times out of 10.
Oof. Man, there's a lot I can say about this, especially because accessibility and representation. There's a lot of words that are now being designated as buzz terms, unfortunately. And I remember playing Final Fantasy VIII, and I remember there was one part. There was a statue was supposed to be holding a glass, and it was right before Squall dies, and there's a clue in the level, but I was like, I don't know, 13, 14, and it took me, I think, almost an hour to put the puzzle together, because the statue reflects the painting, and in the painting, the dialogue reads, "Oh, that person's holding something." Like, hey, buddy, this is the clue.
Yeah.
So, per your point, clues in levels. Is that an easy mode? No, because it's written into the narrative.
That's a great way to put it. And it's for people who it only helps people who find it. And so if you're the kind of person, well, I don't know if I can say that any better way. I think that a clue in a level um, doesn't take away, because if the clue's obvious and the puzzle itself was probably obvious, you didn't need it in the first place. But I remember in Skyrim, quite a few puzzles, and Skyrim isn't a very challenging game, but the way they hid the clues to the puzzles um, could be sometimes arduous to find. Oh, it's on a door behind you that you never looked back because you entered a certain direction. So I like it when seeking out clues is also a part of the puzzle itself. If you're just going to put a puzzle where I have to push two buttons and one's red and the door's red, I mean, okay, that's simple, and it definitely gets messages across. I would expect more from a game, probably, but that is, I think, a good way to weave clues into the puzzle. Weave into the narrative is harder, especially when it's more removed than that. But that was the old games back then. That was when you're in Final Fantasy IV and you go back to Kaipo Village and you talk to a random stranger and they say, "Oh, a woman came here recently. She got sick." That's a clue. And if you don't pick up on that, you're gonna miss it. But it's in the narrative, so it's exciting for people to pay attention. And if you missed it, then you're probably going to go to every house anyway and eventually find her. So
The looting systems in games now really help, so you don't have to go to all the houses. But the looting system can be equated to difficulty. Don't get me wrong, looting, if the mechanic, if it's not as good per difficulty, then it's being applied to that difficulty, and I get that. But looting itself seems to kind of make something easier nonetheless. So you don't have to spend all this time.
What do you mean by looting?
Oh, like when you kill someone, you loot the body. Or you open all the
Okay.
shelves, cupboards,
Let's go scavenging. How about that?
or whatever. Right, looting. You fucking idiot.
Scavenging is a great term. Benign. Even treasure hunting is a good term. Treasure hunting. Bilbo Baggins wasn't a looter. Bilbo Baggins was a treasure hunter.
He burgled last I checked.
Uh,
Go burgle something, right? Right? Remember that dialogue?
I do. Which is interesting because I didn't get the sense that he had done that kind of stuff before.
Fuck no, look at that tubby motherfucker.
That's just a cartoon. But like, I think because I first watched, we watched the cartoon first and then subsequently read the material.
Yes.
But I got the sense from the cartoon that, oh, he was a treasure hunter.
Mm. Well, look at.
But that's not
Go ahead.
not
Go ahead.
really. No, I still think that's what he was, and I feel a little cheated because I like the idea. I like the vision I have of Bilbo the treasure hunter versus Martin Freeman's Doilies Bilbo.
That's interesting because
Peter Jackson.
you could depending upon the canon that you want to choose. Wine is a treasure, right? And he has a huge wine cellar, right?
Yeah, but most laid down by his father.
Oh, really?
That's the line in Lord of the Rings.
And Peter Jackson's canon.
Yes. So that brings up another interesting thing is the fact that you can have coexistent, not competing necessarily, but coexistent canon where a person can pick and choose the truth of material.
Your truth.
It's subjective to them, not absolute, but subjective to them, and therefore worth acknowledging for them. So, you can look at Final Fantasy the remake or Final Fantasy the original, and they play differently. And choose your canon, whatever. They're both valid.
Well, validity and gaming is. Not everything can be a tool to advance a narrative, so not every line is important, and it's not valid for a character or some kind of mechanism. There's not always a purpose, and so not everything has to be valid. Mind you, assets that are designed by people. I mean, it's still like someone's job, so it's valid enough because it exists in the game.
Yeah.
Did you just flip your phone?
Yeah, can you tell?
Yeah, because in OBS.
And sometime later, I felt a drip on my hand. The dog. He's slobbering on me. I woke up. Dog's not there. Another drip on my hand. Get a flashlight. Look up.
Oh.
Every 4 seconds. Every 4 seconds. I mean, my hand had the right spot to feel it, so we moved the bed. We rotated the bed from one side of the room to the other. We called a person at 5:30 in the morning. We called someone. They didn't show up till. Well, the rain stopped before they showed up. So that sucked.
I'm really sorry to hear that, bro.
Yeah. So it was Tingle had been in the valley had been kicked up, and the wind was blowing rain under there. So when the rain stopped, problem stopped. Had a crew come in, patch it up, dried it out. We still have a hole in our ceiling that will be fixed, I guess, next week.
Oh my
but we
God.
had to slept in a different bedroom because they had a massive dehumidifier in there. It kicked up our room to like over 90 degrees. So we weren't going to sleep in there. So we slept in the spare bedroom on our blow-up bed. Let the dog sleep with us. So that was a different experience for us.
With you being it's your first house. How do you feel about having to navigate, this new space?
Well, there's a few spaces to navigate. There's the physical one,
Hmm.
and then there's all the other systems that come along with it: the insurance system, the mortgage system, the city services system, even weather systems. So I'll address those in a little bit. Internally, it's very boxy. It's an things were 90 degrees, rooms were heavily separated by walls, open floor plan characterize newer developments, which Kenzie and I appreciate more. So you really can't have a conversation when you're in the kitchen with someone in the dining room, let alone the living room, which stinks. Whoever's in the kitchen is basically locked there, which that's how society was back when this house was built in 1922. Someone was in the kitchen doing their kitchen things, typically a woman, while someone was in the living room doing entertainment, social things, typically a man. So it's interesting when you have those gender concepts that no longer apply because we want to do things together as a family, not separate people away.
Gender is a
So
construct.
so we just were thinking, how do we deconstruct the space so that it fits our lifestyle versus reimagine our lifestyle to the space? Because it's not doesn't have to be a fixed permanent asset. It's ours. We own it, and insofar as we are up to code and permitted, we can do what we want. And
Whenever
that's
you want.
codes and permits because they save lives. But on that, we've also taken to the backyard, put in it was. Um, we put in 3 planter boxes. We have torn down the fence separating us from the community garden.
Right.
It was a 6-foot tall wooden fence, heavily weathered. We're not going to have it left open. We're going to put wire fencing on there so that we can maintain the sight line to the garden, but still allow for the dog to be able to be out there. So we have to build another fence between us and the driveway.
Yes, when you sent me that picture, I was taking a look at it, and it was I was liking what I was seeing.
We've done some cool things. Not a lot of expensive things. The wood, we don't have a car, so we got it delivered, and they had a delivery charge to it, but it was convenient. Soil delivered to us, and drove and got some. And our plot in the garden is like 50 feet away from our house or something, 60 feet away. So it's not inconvenient for us to get out there regularly. We don't. We've let it go overgrown. We've lost a few plants because of our laziness.
Bro.
You certainly learn to prioritize and not try and put things off. And that's always his skill. We got to get better at. But garden, both. The garden was more my wife's than mine. I'm not the kind of person who likes consistent maintenance on a thing. I like to do a thing and then be done with it. Oh, it's built. It's over. You're done. You built it. Gardening is continuous maintenance, and I'm not so great at continuous maintenance. So
Yeah, that's an interesting concept because athleticism, working out, if nothing else, is constant maintenance. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind. I love getting sweaty. I love exercise. I love most things about it. But when I'm not in the mood, or if I truly need a rest day and need to eat a lot of protein, it's so interesting to realize that fuck, oof, I feel awful right now.
yeah, and it's maybe when it's your body and there's internal systems that are being impacted by your decision making, it's harder to notice. But when it's a garden, you eventually do see, oh wait, my plants have withered,
Yep.
and now I'm not going to get the food I was going to get from that. And it's unfortunate because that food is a long-term event with many micro decisions building up to it, and it's hard. You lose sight of all the decisions you've made that take you away from that goal until it's too late. Until that goal is there and there's no fruit, there's no vegetables because
Well,
you
you're responsible for it.
You are, and you better be prepared for it. We were not fully prepared for the responsibility of that, the garden, the pandemic, the puppy. So
Yeah, and when one individual is pregnant, the amount of work that they can do, if it's and if any amount of it is explosive, that really maybe that person shouldn't be doing it because they might get hurt. It could there's a lot of coulds, and just fatigue in general
Yeah.
leads to injury.
Fatigue in general is the reason why I'm the one doing most of the gardening, because
Yep.
I am the more, it's right now, able-bodied. So as I should pick up that slack, but it's not already in my milieu. So I'm like, okay, now I gotta go water. What am I doing? That's what, like,
Bro.
designing video games. You build up to the craft, but you can see the progress as you're building it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's done. You're over. You know. There are people who do
It
art
doesn't. It
who
doesn't
are never over.
stop. Because look at what Rockstar did with Grand Theft Auto 5. Look at the massive expansion packs that have been purchased. Sure, it's an unfair
But that's
example
more-
because their team is gigantic.
But that's also they're trapped by the modern game industry, which requires DLC and requires.
No. Ah, damn it. Come on. Are you there?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. We're good. Sorry,
Sorry.
folks.
Can you
Yeah,
hear
we're
me?
good.
Yeah, so I was saying that with Final Fantasy IV, it was you package it, you're done, you move on to the next Final Fantasy or
Yeah.
whatever project. You don't keep
Yeah,
revisiting it.
that team of 15, man, that once they were done in Sacramento and they could go home to Japan, they did. But the people that didn't want that, what's interesting is why you see like a lot of ethnic diversity with a lot of Asian individuals in Sacramento, is because there were quite a bit of gaming studios that set up shop because they realized, whoa, this is really cheap, and these people got this done. Maybe we should buy a ton of complexes. While we're at it, buy a bunch of land, and we'll be able to have influence in American markets. Because look at EA, Electronic Arts has a really well-known office right downtown Midtown. So I would imagine when gaming truly, when it first boomed, I would imagine that the Bay Area and beyond, because 2K Entertainment, right, is out of Novato, and there's like 5 other AAA studios that are small, but still they all work together, out of San Rafael, Marin County, and also Emeryville, right? You have Pixar, you have Disney, which and Lucas Arts, which is in outside of Petaluma. So I imagine all these tech people that were doing a lot, probably doing some gaming, doing some film, and doing a lot of unique things, realized the value of, forever ago. Oh, one day, this place, you watch, and sure enough, look at Sacramento now. Everybody's moving out of the Bay Area and moving that direction because why? Still cheap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was our plan. Looked at a couple jobs there. And yeah, nice area to go visit. Take some time in the old town, the river coming through
man.
there. River
The
cities are
wine
fun.
country there, oh my god, man. Some of the
Cheaper than the Sonoma County wine country, cheaper than the Napa County wine country. Still accessible to those if you want.
Yeah.
So you talk about Lodi or something, you got it. And then you got the Sierra Nevadas right there.
Oh, bro, it's
So-
not a bad location, and you can hop on the 5, no problem, to get to Los Angeles. So, and it's actually a bit of a shorter drive than from Sonoma County. Yes,
Oh,
and there's a lot of things occurring right now. But Jordan, my wife, folks that know about her, she actually got offered a pretty sweet gig here in Sonoma County, making more than I'm making on unemployment, and I'm making quite a bit on unemployment.
Thank you, taxpayers. Hey, that's me. I'm a taxpayer.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Bro, at least I'm like putting it to use. There's so many people that are. I went for a walk birthday. I was like, nothing safe. One thing that is, grab a cup of Joe to go. So went to Aroma's.
Yep.
Aroma Roasters here in Santa Rosa.
That's a hike.
From here, not far.
That's a good walk to the downtown area. I like that.
Right, it was nice, and because it was hot, I was like, show's soon. I don't know. I tried working out, but my mouse, as I was getting ready to do a bunch of reps, my mouse just said, nope. Because I've been hitting it pretty hard lately. And on my walk, I saw people not wearing masks, not social distancing. A lot of restaurants are open, with pet and doing the patio thing, and I guess that's fine. vitamin D seems to be the best way to beat COVID-19. But on my way home, I thought, you know what? It's nice out. Maybe I'll walk to the park. As soon as I step into Juilliard Park, right across from Luther Burbank Home and Garden Center, folks, if you want to check it out. No one was wearing masks. A lot of white people that looked entitled. And that broke my heart because that's when I realized, oh man, Sonoma County. It's like, if you guys want this shit to end, that you gotta wear your masks. It's proven and founded and peer reviewed that they work by scientists and medical professionals and clinicians of all types. And it just breaks my heart to recognize that. Protesters, peaceful protesters that are, well, there's a large portion that's, ethnically diverse and probably have been oppressed or at least had, episodes of oppression. These people are more bold doing something, that they believe in for their country. And, this angry old white lady is just mad she can't be in a park without a mask on. This logic doesn't make sense to me, man. And with, with the baby, I don't know if you want to share the baby's name, but with the baby on the way, I can't help but think, like, what would I tell, my, the child of my brother. How would I explain this?
Your niece,
right? I actually cried when you told me the gender and the name because I was learning Dear Theodosia, beautiful song, and I read the text, and it's a song that Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton it's a duet. Man, Leslie Odom Jr.'s voice is amazing, but it's duet and it's really moving, powerful piece. And I was like, oh, cute, and I started practicing, and next thing I know, I was like, crying.
Well, we don't know the gender, or we don't have a name.
Oh, okay. Well, that was just a placeholder.
What was placeholder?
Grace. I thought yeah.
Grace. No, but that is pretty.
No, but that is pretty. Oh, I got all upset and emotional over fucking nothing.
When did I say Grace? Well, hey, fun fact, I haven't said Grace in a long time.
Oh, Matt!
Right?
Yeah! Bro, fist bump, boom.
Yeah, we Michigan has gone mask mandatory in public places. I don't think that applies to outdoor public spaces. And I'm not here. I think you're fine if you are in a park not to wear a mask, but no one's ever in a park by themselves. And masks, people, are for others.
Yeah, man.
We as a country can save each other's lives. Yes, I know we don't want to hear it, but we are responsible to and for each other. So, act on that responsibility. Save someone's life. Don't be so selfish thinking it's about you. No, it's about someone else. So, and that's the hard part about restaurants, because you look at people who I need to go out and eat. I want to go out and eat. Okay, fine, I get it. You want to eat, but it requires the staff to be there in close proximity, and in many cases to be close to you. And so,
just breathing on each other.
Yeah. Now, if it can be done safely, that's fine. There are a measure of protections to take. But I mean, if what you are doing is out of something selfish like that, ask yourself if it's worth doing. If your argument is, well, people have to work to get paid, like I'd rather inflate the debt, expand in unemployment, and keep lives than say, well, realistically, we'll lose a couple million people, but the economy will be just fine. I'm not willing to put a price tag on someone's life right now.
Bro, you're such a...
Especially if you open in schools.
You are an exceptional person. and you work in a sector, and I try not to go too deep on what you do for it because people don't need to know necessarily. But
I'm a sex worker.
that's awesome. Show them your feet.
They're dirty. I've been walking on barefoot. It's been so nice to like to not be in a. I hate to say it, not be in a city where you are afraid to step
Oh,
outside.
you're absolutely right, man.
On the ground.
I don't. I miss Oakland, but I don't miss how dirty Oakland can be to hang out at. You know.
Some places, not
Right.
every place,
Sorry.
but
Sorry,
you know,
Oakland.
I
Didn't mean that.
yeah, my fair share of feces and needles and other human waste and animal waste, to be fair. But I like that, you know, I can keep my sidewalk clean and know it won't be dirty tomorrow. I can walk across the street barefoot. You know, there's no
But
broken glass.
with how long you been
But
in Michigan now?
You know, less than a year. No, sorry, we've been in Michigan a year. Been in Michigan a year and a month.
And how long you been in your house?
But less than a year.
It's hard to measure these things like what's better, what do you prefer, especially since it has been that long. You know, it's only been four quarters, man. 4 financial quarters is not that long of a time.
I prefer to think them in seasons.
Right, well, 4 seasons, whatever. All right, however you want to measure time is up to you. But do you think that How about this? What have you noticed, and what have you felt is the most ubiquitous? I don't know, attributes that are similar and different. The most ubiquitous similarities and differences so far into your time away from the Bay Area.
Biggest difference, there's not as much brunch out here.
That's pretty funny. Is that a joke?
No, man. So, you know, we were very intentional about where we chose to live, and I put together a whole spreadsheet, like I said before, of weighing all these factors. How
Do you
many
have a
minutes am I
screenshot
for my
of that?
coffee? I don't, and it's a proprietary algorithm, so I don't really be sharing
that's
that.
cool.
But how many minutes am I from a park, from a school, etc.? So the things I had in Oakland, you know, we lived in a 20-minute neighborhood. My barber was 2 blocks away. My grocery store was a 12-minute walk.
What type of neighborhood?
Called a 20-minute. It's a mile neighborhood. You know, what can you get in a mile of you? And you want to try and maximize all those things because it makes a walkable neighborhood. In Oakland, I had Lake Merritt Park. I had Daxley's Barbershop. I had Good News Cafe. I had the Nature Food Store, and I had Whole Foods. You know, I had public transit. I had BART.
Yeah, not to mention all the cool joints to grab cocktails at with pals and
Pizza, drinks, falafel. You know, we had. It was very many ways an idyllic spot to be in.
leisure is, I think that's what that's considered. Anyway, sorry.
You know, and Carlos, and we knew we wanted to try and get to know Carlos as much as possible here, as much as we could, and we made it a winter. You know, without finding it to be a necessity. So we're finding that things, though, in Michigan, because of the excess parking, things are pulled apart. You have to be a lot more intentional to find that 20-minute neighborhood. It doesn't happen by accident like it did in Oakland. You know, it was the first apartment we looked at. We said, yeah, we want it. So we were able to rent it. Here it was, I'm looking at housing everywhere to see what can best mimic the lifestyle we want in this new situation.
Sure.
So there's still, you know, in 20 minutes I still have a bar, still have a park. Doctor's a little farther away. But a lot of cafes and parks in area, and a university, which has its own beautiful grounds to go through, etc. So, the cafe, deli restaurant, doesn't do brunch. They don't do any breakfast items, actually. They're not open up for food until lunch. And I asked him, I said, do you ever want to do breakfast? He said, I did it once. It was too successful, and I'm going to retire soon, so I don't want to do it again. It's too much work, he says. Too much money?
Do you not like money? Move your camera. Move your
I will pay you.
a little bit to your. Because you keep moving out of frame. Perfect.
Okay. So anyway, I just want my egg on a
Bro.
bagel. Okay? Give me that.
What's a player gotta do?
So we had this place called GR Bagel. It wasn't as close
Okay.
as this one. They've closed
Sure.
down during the
Like
pandemic.
permanently or
They will not they will not reopen as GR Bagel. They're going to have a new endeavor. But just last week we saw another restaurant is
dope.
opening a bagel place, slightly closer actually to me, by a matter of like 3 blocks. So I shall be okay. But that option at Good News Cafe right by our apartment, well, I mean, it was open at 8 in the morning.
We love staying up late, sure, but uh, you don't seem like you're like me, where you're like, fuck sleep. I'm not sleeping tonight.
Oh no, man, I am undercover by 10:30.
Right, so
The dog wakes up at 6:20, 6:30, 6:40.
dude, he's ready to go.
He is. All he wants to do is cuddle, actually, for like a good hour. That's all he wants to do. So we let him. We were out of the room because of the water damage, and he stayed on the bed until we turned the lights off. Then he got off the bed and laid on the floor. But he slept until 7:40, which is unheard of for that dog. So maybe
What?
it was in the bedroom. I just think I wonder if he was just because he doesn't ever stay in the room with us. I wonder if he was just so comfortable for once that he just, I don't know, spent more time in there.
Right. Right.
We've been given the option, but because I think the new bedroom sort of did a reset on the behavior we had instilled in him, because for a long time we had a no bedroom policy with him. And so now that we're in a new bedroom, it's kind of like, hey, new rules, figure it out. Sorry,
Bro.
he was okay.
That's funny.
I know. So yeah, someone asked me recently, "Do you miss Oakland?" And I thought about it, and I said, "I don't think I'd ever want to live somewhere that I won't miss."
Ooh. You're so wise. You know that? That's you've really sacrifices make or break your. I don't want to say how your wisdom can be measured, but
It can.
as a tool that can.
In Dungeons and Dragons, they can measure your wisdom. See?
I gotta get
I'm not
more
just wise,
cider.
I'm also intelligent. If we're going down this road, hold on. Oh, now here I am talking to myself. Now that is the definition of insanity. I wonder if he'll edit this out. Probably not. It'll just be the end credits or something.
Man, you're on it today. You're being hilarious.
I'm always hilarious. That's hurtful.
Well, sometimes you're a little more thoughtful than. Don't wrong. Like, get a mic in front of a Channing. Oh my god.
Speaking of Channing, so Dad's coming to visit, right? And Kenzie's sister was at a large unnamed grocery chain, trying to procure goods for everyone when they arrive. So I asked our father, "Oh, what do you want?" And he gave a brand specific thing he wants to be supplied for him. And Kenzie said to me, "I don't think they're going to get that." And I said, "There's something about a Channing. If you ask us, we will tell you straight. We don't do the whole Midwest thing where we have to say no 3 times. Okay, just like you want. I'm going to store anything. Yes, actually, I do. Or, hey, is something bothering you? Yes, actually, it is. We want to play it straight, and unfortunately, that can create friction for people of cultural subsets that say, "Oh no, I'm fine. I'm going to store anything. No, I don't need anything. Hey, you're bleeding. Do you need to go to the hospital? No, it's all right. Sorry for the spot on your carpet. I didn't mean that. I'll clean it up myself."
Shot in the head. You get a bed. You're bloody. We're your buddy.
So, our family does a bit differently. In spite of our father saying, "Well, we're from the Midwest," and we are, but we lost that Midwest niceness, openness.
You know me. I listen to a lot of things. I do a lot of research on a lot of things, and man, a lot of comics and writers and people that generally like develop things from the Midwest, they've all kind of said something similar to that. You lose a part of yourself after if you're in Los Angeles for a long time, you become pretty much I don't want to say a naturalized Los Angeles countian, but you're
Angelino.
what's that? Angelino?
Angelino.
Is that the county?
Yeah.
Angelino County?
I think no. Well, I think no. It's a demonym for someone from Los Angeles. You
Mm.
call them an Angelino.
So it's per your point. It's just fascinating to because we got the hospitality kind of from mom because sure it's where we grew up wasn't necessarily the Midwest, but it's Uncle Matt says he's from Idaho because apparently no one has any idea where the fuck Wallowa County is, or can
Sure.
say that word, Wallowa.
I remember trying to say the Willamette, and I'm like the Willamette, the Willamette, damn it,
Go ram it.
got a good rhyme.
But you get I'm to think because all the gaming conferences that I've seen lately, and there's been a ton. Um, it's so fascinating to see how people from other countries and unique provinces, places that you'd never would guess are spelled with those letters and figures. It's like the weirdest sounds from your mouth can come from the most nice of peoples, excuse me, uh, and all these cool gaming devs and artists as well. It's fascinating to see that culturally Midwesterners that are polite and excuse me.
Yeah.
So what's fascinating is that you see that as well, and like New Zealand, Rocket Lab, my favorite space program. Uh, Everyone there really nice, super polite.
I met some New Zealanders in a hostel once, and they were during the World Cup in Germany in '06, and they were super nice partiers, just like
Why don't we talk about
outgoing,
that yet? Your
fun-loving.
travels? Hold on.
That's,
Whoa, bro.
you can always how do you know someone studied? How do you know someone went abroad in Europe?
How?
They talk about it all the time.
How do you know someone's an audio and video engineer? They talk about it.
Oh, wait, I've been accused of being a train person. Okay, but man, do I find a way to bring it into a conversation? I tell you what. So I guess I must be a train person because I'm always like, well, on the train, when you're out there riding the rails, it's a different world, man. You become a different person. Jack Kerouac over here.
An asshole. What are you on the road again? With your fucking cigarette holder?
It's like my pack over my shoulder.
Oh my god.
Anyway, yeah, no,
Oh.
the New Zealand's the Kiwis as they call themselves, where they were nice guys, and then Australians too. I had a night with an Australian dude, not in a sexual way.
There's so I want to live in Australia and New Zealand, not just because they have exceptional wines, but uh, it,
That's a horrible reason to want
not,
to live
not
somewhere.
really.
Just
The
so you
wine
know.
country New Zealand is absolutely worth living there for.
Yeah, but if that is your the key litmus test, I don't know. I mean, I got no more freedoms, and I got to pee upside down.
The wine's
but,
amazing.
Piss on my face. But the wine is outstanding. Anyway,
But
sorry.
their
digress.
wine's incredible and in Australia and New Zealand, but and also you have a ton of really cool STEAM developments: science, technology, engineering, arts, math, and also the fitness. People really cherish uh, kinesiology and are doing a lot of really interesting science studies with uh, now that stem cell research, rather stem cell medicines aren't just treatment plans that are cures. There's a lot of bold scientists pursuing um, de-aging technologies like NAD or resveratrol, and a lot of these countries that don't have the same uh, standards and practices and regulations that someone like the U.S. might.
Mm.
You can do more interesting things with medical science and biological sciences, but then you're getting into the weeds of bioethics. What's ethical with biology, whether it's a macroorganism or a microorganism? It's above my pay grade, and I just listen to people talk about it, and then I vomit it in a terribly paraphrased manner. But that's I'd really love to live there because everyone in those on those continents and on those islands are really supportive of their people doing those things. It's really supportive cultures. So much like Midwesterners, sure, there's some terrible people there, white supremacists. There's a lot of white supremacy in the Midwest. However, the people are polite and that are practicing those constant hospitality. They tend to get behind their people, and that's what's so interesting about living new places. You'll find people just like that remind someone. You remind me of this person. You remind me of this person, that person, because they're similar in character to where you might be orbiting and what you might be around.
I think you've made some very compelling arguments that are nothing more than thinly veiled lies for the simple fact that you want to live in the Shire. Just admit it. It's not to say you can talk about hospitality and wine. You want to live in the Shire, smoke your halfling leaf, eat cupcakes, and garden all day.
Well, don't forget work out. I want to do MMA with people and
Fine. I don't think I've ever seen an MMA Hobbit, but you know what? Why not? Fucking Mary
you
killed the
clearly
Lich King,
you
or
have
Pippin killed the
not
Lich
heard
King,
of Alexander Volkanovsky then, because he lives in Australia, trains in New Zealand, and he's a hobbit.
3'3", 3'8".
Cheers, bro. This is nice.
I want to take a minute and check my privilege. I had said that I wouldn't want to live anywhere I wouldn't miss, and that really speaks to the luxury I have in being someone who can choose to live in places that are worth missing.
Look at you.
There are a lot of people who can't and need to, deal with the situation they're in. They can't just pick up and move to somewhere more idyllic. They can't just put together a spreadsheet and choose a house to buy because it's near a cafe or grocery store because they want to live car free. That is,
that
I think,
skill
a very...
to check your privilege like that. Where did you pick? That's fascinating. That you stopped, like you literally stopped the flow to address it. That's where'd you pick that up? Because I don't think I do that enough.
Unfortunately, it's not a skill. You and me are taught, and probably most people in the country are taught. I tend to assume that my experiences are the norms for everyone because they're the norm for me. And I think it's the greatest act of love when you can get in see the world from someone else's point of view and understand, oh, what's me is not them. And it's just, thankfully, there are people out there in the internet space and the personal space and on the news beating me over the head with it, because that's what it takes for me to realize, I a little bit. Yeah, maybe it's 10 minutes afterwards. Maybe it's a year afterwards. Maybe it's never. But hopefully my slow awakening is worth the struggles they have to go through in seeing me not realize that I am privileged in many ways, not just financially, and probably maybe in a lot of ways, least of all financially. But I had supportive parents. I had a roof over my head. I had food in my belly. I had people encouraging my education. I didn't have to go to sleep with insecurities, crime, theft, etc. I grew up in white America. Schools are predominantly white. Sure, my parents are divorced, but to an extent they were
I was
there.
about to say that the worst thing that we had was maybe a dad that drank a little too much once upon a time, and a mom that wasn't around, and when she was
Yeah,
around, she really made up
but
for it.
when the people in our life drank, they just said, "I love you" more. They
Yeah,
didn't beat our butts, which
yeah.
unfortunately that's a lot of other people in this country and in the
Man,
world.
man, we really
So
are really, really privileged, even
really privileged.
compared to other white people as well. Like we have, and our stories. There's a reason that we wanted to do a fucking podcast together because we like each. It's not like we never really complain on this show, which I mean, man, I do. Never mind. You don't. I do, and that's okay because it's half jokes, half commentary. But at the end, what's
All
fascinating is
content.
right, half jokes, half serious, all content. What a douche. That's really interesting, man. That's your yeah. The worst thing we had was I've my worst memory of childhood, the one that's like in terms of fear, when you fear an adult is dad was upset with us for playing video games, and what the fuck did he do? Yes, he did.
Window down the stairway. That wasn't the only thing he threw. I think a remote control was thrown another time.
Yeah,
Big on throwing things. Big
yeah.
throw. He played softball. He's big on throwing.
You know what? And when what's wow, mentioning the Hobbit, there's a through line here. When he threw the remote control at 855 Middle Rincon, what the fuck were we watching?
No.
The Hobbit.
No. That's
Yes.
conspiracy theory.
No,
Fake
man.
news.
I'd just like to say this is fake news.
No, I don't believe that.
And I'm telling you, man.
Hey man, yeah, you remember that? People, these things get burned in someone's head. Those quote unquote traumatic experiences. And again, if that's the most traumatic experience of a young boy's upbringing,
Right?
I don't want to say shut your mouth because your experiences are valid. Have perspective, And obviously, yeah, you're not going around complaining about the injustices done against you that you couldn't pause during The Hobbit. That would be gross. So yeah, we have, again, sorry to bring it back. I am incredibly not lucky because that discourages the hard work that my wife did to get the bonus she got. But other people were able to give us financial assistance, and it's and we've learned about this too. And again, no one taught it, but we're reading about the others have known, unfortunately, and often the people who suffer the most from it know it the most. But you talk about intergenerational wealth. We got a check from her family. Well, why do we get a check from her family? Oh, you know what? They're white and they own homes and they sold those homes and their parents and they're going back and back and back. I mean, the inequality in this country is pervasive and it's acute, and it's systemic, and it goes back to the founding. And the reason why, I don't have a black neighbor over there or a black person didn't buy this house is because we have systematically discouraged through our laws intergenerational wealth for them, and it's disheartening. I'm glad I live here. I would have found another place to live. I would have been okay. It's hard to disassemble all the bricks that have been built up into this house of inequality. And
Jesus.
yeah, and it's no one that I know in my upbringing took that kind of
Do you
critical
talk
look.
about this regularly, or have you been saving this for the podcast?
My wife and I talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, she's even she feels these injustices more acutely than I do.
So you talk about it regularly with her.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
but we don't have a forum where we go to talk to other like-minded people about this. So,
Sure.
my only other contact has been a shrink. No, I'm just kidding.
Nice.
That was supposed to be a line
Fucking
from supposed to be a line from
reference,
Uncharted.
dude. Yeah. I love that movie so much. Scorsese won. Scorsese won Best Picture, I believe, a Grammy. That's the only film he's ever won an award for.
You
Yeah,
serious?
that. Do you want to talk about Injustice? That's an injustice. And one of the finest Italian Americans that what what he's an Italian. Like, sure he's white, but oh my god.
Well, that's another issue too. You know, Kenzie and I, we went to a cafe this morning, and we have to lane street. This 5-lane street borders a park with playgrounds for kids. It has 2 mid-block crossings. It's 1 block, several hundred feet long, just long for a block, with 2 mid-block crossings, neither of which have pedestrian beg buttons, have flashing signs, or even have crosswalk paint across the road. They are no more than 4 feet and are crumbling. You have to sit and wait for asynchronous lights to have slow enough traffic that you can go across. I've waited over there over 1 minute and 40 seconds before, which, okay, doesn't sound like much. But that's a long time.
If you're trying to catch a bus or a train.
If you're a small child trying to go to a park, because directly opposite that are apartments and housing. No park in America or in the world should have a 5-lane street around it. That's absurd. And
Yeah,
if it
who
does,
designed that?
at the minimum, let me push a button that tells cars to stop. Don't let me hold up, guys, step back in. Okay, step out. Okay, no, step back in. That's ridiculous. So I joined the Vital Streets Commission, Oversights Commission in the city, and we've done nothing. Since pandemic, we haven't even met. Everyone else is meeting online via Zoom, and we've canceled all meetings. So that's absurd too. But at the end of the day, this is a small quality of life issue for me. Quality of life issue for me. When there are still communities being over-policed, people unbanked, people with lead in their homes, this is not, I think, a priority that needs to be brought up. But again, that just shows the privilege I have in my life, where if that's my biggest problem, that I have to cross a 5-lane street to get to not the closest cafe, but to a different cafe, that just shows, again, I'm living in a special bubble that has a quality of life many others don't.
Bro, you're all Alexander Hamilton over there, man. Minus the
Does that mean you're going to shoot me?
no, minus the duel.
Okay.
No, just the passion,
Sure.
and you're really well spoken. You're well read, bro. Have you? I shouldn't ask this question on podcast,
Nah.
but I think you know what I'm gonna ask. Have you thought about it?
I have a vasectomy, and I still want more kids. So,
That.
oh,
But good for you. I might do one myself. No, have you thought about running?
I mean, we walk the dog a lot,
Oh my
and
god!
I was running him.
But good for you. I'm glad to hear that. You don't have to answer the question. You could just say, "I don't want to talk about that right now."
So, as someone who has worked in government and currently works in government, there is, we sort of distinguish between the people who set policy and the people who implement policy, and both are excruciatingly critical to seeing the change people want to see. There's no point in making a policy that sounds good on paper if you don't have the resources or the administration or the intelligentsia to implement it with fidelity to obtain the outcomes that were ascribed in the initial policy, right? Also, same side of the coin, there's no point in having well-trained staff, good outreach, stakeholder buy-in, and if you're barred from doing something because it doesn't comport with the way things are supposed to be done. So politics is, I see it from my lens, and I count myself lucky that I never got into it, and probably won't. But I do like the advisory board way to go.
Kind of a backdoor, which makes sense because
Kind of is.
I'm all about I love backdoor engineering something because you know all you have to do is Google my name and see how fucking stupid I am. But it allows me to also present. If I go through the back door, it allows me to, let me show you my skills first before see, uh, my sordid past catch up to me. But it's so fascinating to see what you can do with just contracting, advising, even just picking up I picked up an assignment just for a short promo, and it was so interesting to kind of see the other side of audio and video engineering that you can really do some interesting branding work with being an AV engineer, and it's a good example of advising because it's a version. It's not copywriting, and I won't say brand development, but you're a component in brand development. Being a good AV engineer that is advising, so I'm measuring what you're talking about, how I understand it. So because it sounds like not only are you smart as hell, but you really probably know how to work a system, especially after working in government. I'd really like to see what kind of advice. All right, pitch me something. If I'm trying to fix my if I was a mayor in a place where there was a lot of protests occurring, and there was clearly police brutality. It was ubiquitous and transparent.
Sure.
What would you do?
Actually, I had the scenario. I don't do social media. I have a Twitter as a news aggregator. I do have Nextdoor, mostly and unashamedly for the free things that are on there.
Oh hell yeah, Nextdoor's dope. Shout out to Nextdoor. Love you. Sponsor.
I guess I should point the camera. I do that.
Yeah, at the camera.
Not little me or you.
No.
So anyway, there was someone on the Nextdoor who very meaningfully was taking a stance questioning why the neighborhood association wasn't taking a bigger stand against the and they were talking about how, look, this is going to affect our property values. If there's no policing, there's more crime. If there's no policing, medical professionals won't come to a scene because they need to make sure it's safe first. Mm-hmm. Totally valid. That's very true as business operates now. In the future, who knows? So they said, I can't tolerate defunding the police. This is communism, and et cetera, et cetera. So I didn't want to let this go because I felt like there was an opportunity to educate, and people should never be on the internet to educate someone. It doesn't work. But this person lives in my neighborhood, so I felt like a special.
What do you mean by educate? Because
that's a good point. Perhaps clear the waters on assumptions that person had made, and perhaps provide some evidence that might support a contrary point of view.
And if they have heels in their heels in the sand?
I mean, again, that's why no one should be on the internet to try and educate someone, because it's not, I think, a platform that is designed for that. It allows for it, but it's not designed for it. So I had said this, look, I would rather have a CSO, a community service officer, show up to take a report than a fully trained and equipped police officer. It's an alignment of resources issue. I don't need somebody, a sworn officer, for what can be done by a non-sworn position. There are more important things, not say important, there are things more aligned with what they can do and perhaps are charged to do because of their training than take a report that require a plainclothes citizen to do. That could be a cheaper alignment of funding. I also think it's important that maybe you have mental health professionals show up to issues in instances where they're better trained. And that could actually end up being more expensive because of the education and training that goes into fully equipping some of that scenario. So I'm not saying, I think some people would agree, don't defund the police, but let's align the resources we put into the system for the outcomes we want from the
Mm.
system. By all means, if you want, and I would support this, but if you want a heavily police state, then fine. You can put more resources into having more cops do more things to stop more people and perpetuate injustices. And no one's calling for that, so that's sort of a straw man argument. But anybody who studies a budget knows budgets are reflections of values. And if your budget shows nothing but sworn police officers doing things that we don't even fully train them for, you're not going to get the
Okay.
outcomes you want. So realign police funding to the outcomes you want from a police department. Realign health department funding for the outcomes you want from a health department, etc., etc. This isn't. There's a lot of ways to budget a city or government. There's carryover from last year. There's zero-based budgeting where you start zero and you justify every new item until you get a budget amount. And there's priority-based budgeting or value-based budgeting where you say, hey, if we want to have reduced crime, we're going to budget around activities that we want to have safer parks or increased transportation, whatever. Your inputs affect your outputs. So that's what I told the individual. And they haven't responded back, and I don't expect them to. But I want to put out there that some people say defund, they mean defund. Some people say defund, they mean realign. And typically realignment does probably mean taking some amount of money from the police department and putting that towards other areas where those professionals exist or where that funding could allow them to exist.
Arms of law enforcement that aren't necessarily
Not even law
second.
enforcement, but again, you go with mental health professionals who maybe shouldn't be in law enforcement, but if they had increased funding, they
That
could
term,
be a
law
response arm.
enforcement, that term needs to go. Law enforcement. You shouldn't need to enforce law. You shouldn't need to police policy. And that's with all this Hamilton noise that's going on and all these protests. What I find to be really interesting in this is, all right, well, how do you measure freedom? What is freedom? It's definitely you have to you have to earn it, and you have to sacrifice a lot of things.
No one should have to earn freedom. No one should have to earn freedom. Freedom should be a guaranteed right. It to be protected, but never earned. Respect should be assumed, should be protected, shouldn't be earned. You got to start at that base level. And I think a lot of people are of the mindset, no, you got to earn my respect. You got to earn your freedoms. Like I earned mine. No, you didn't earn yours. You're born white. You're born privileged. You had it from birth. It was assumed in you.
Bro, you're. I love it. I
So-
love it. Keep going.
So to that mayor who had police issues, that's what I would say. I would say take a look at your budget. What do you expect to be the result of your budgeting priorities? If you are doing nothing but increasing policing, guess what? You're going to have increased policing. And if they're not trained for cultural competencies, if they're not trained in de-escalation, if they're not given tools that allow for them to respond in a myriad of ways, if all you have is a hammer, every problem's a nail. Old adage, but it still holds true. If all you come at it with is
Who said that?
I have a gun because I don't know.
Socrates.
If all you have are policing with police with guns because you say tasers aren't allowed, okay, well guess what? They can reach for their guns. Here you have response options, but you make sure that maybe those who are responding are the appropriate ones responding. It's easy to have 911 respond. You know why? They have the cars. They're on patrol. They have the staffing, right? When everyone else's business is 8 to 5, it's a bit harder for them to respond.
Right. You always reach for the tools you have, right? And if a mental health professional reaches for certain types of mental health practices with certain individuals. So in that circumstance, with said mayor of whatever place that clearly has problems, if this is a problem, maybe you can have the individual that is a representative of what the Commonwealth wants to occur the within their communities and what the citizens want to see. if
residents,
excuse me, yes,
or visitors, because not everyone's a citizen
right.
who's part of our community. In fact, many of our shoppers or people who work in our communities aren't residents here either.
It's
So
true.
community members is just a good term for it.
True. All right. With community members, that if the folks that serve the community had safer tools to reach for first, and tested and proven and founded tools, whether it's a physical altercation, an intellectual one, a financial one, or if conflict resolution, and wherever it needs to be applied, and how it needs to be practiced. If there could be redistribution of wealth, that another old adage that has always existed. Uh, this whole defund the police thing, the company Thinks and Drinks hasn't taken an official stand on it because it's far too complicated to just say, "Hey, defund the police." Like, well, hold on. And if all I need to do,
The police will get there when it's too late, right? I mean, the police we have it now, they are not a preventative measure; they're a response measure.
they're
We
Avengers.
hope, but by their presence, crime goes down. But that hasn't been shown to be true from what I remember from the literature I've read. Their presence makes people feel safe, but the police will never be there in your house before an axe murderer gets there.
Right. So I was gonna say it. Martial arts. There's a lot of things that that comes with it. A lot of poets there were a lot of warrior poets, right? And these people knew when to apply broad strokes, or not necessarily need at all. So conflict resolution. That's one of the tenets of martial arts. It's almost like a religion. It's almost a faith. And I think if more cops, Andrew Yang, when he was running, he was actually, promoting Black Lives Matter and trying to be involved with it. He was on the Breakfast Club podcast quite a bit, which is a very Black American or centric podcast, and they get all
Emilio Estevez.
no, the Breakfast, no, man. No, it's really something you shouldn't joke about right now. Andrew Yang, what he said is that most cops should have purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because submissions. If all you need to know, if all you have to do is just stop an individual from striking and causing harm to themselves, well, that Jiu-Jitsu teaches that, and all you have to know is some, it doesn't take too long to get there. Fucking flies, god damn it.
You see it.
Uh, and it doesn't take long, then why haven't we taught tools that martial arts can help assist in understanding? Why haven't we taught these things to individuals that respond?
Sure. I don't know why we haven't, but when I was looking at policing, it was 6 months academy, 10 weeks of field office training.
Bro, I have to go to barber school for way longer than if I was going to be a cop.
What kind of world would we live in if policing was a profession as licensed and regulated as practicing law or medicine or barber or dentist? I think that
trades, like true like technical skills, right? That's where you're equating it to.
I don't know if it's necessarily technical. I mean, there's a lot of
I think
theoretical goes into it.
Being a barber is a technical skill. You have to know muscle memory. You have to, measure. Being a dentist, you have to that's a technical trade. You don't have to go to medical school for it. There's back doors to shorten the amount of time that it takes to get your degree.
But so even nursing school though is longer than what a police officer needs.
Yeah. Nursing school. Oh my god.
So
I dated new protocol, new procedure, and always always training.
Yeah. A lot of professions, especially in government, actually also require continuous education. You need a certain amount of credits, every so often for some sort of advancement, for obtainment. And we should require that of policing too, because the field of policing, thankfully, is always changing, improving, updating. And we should require that everyone, to maintain a certification as a police officer, is up on the current best practices. And that, I think, should be so for so many professions.
So I wonder, jobs that are, I hate the term law enforcement. I'm trying to rebrand it in my head, but I don't have anything for it. But people that practice law that aren't lawyers.
Anything, unfortunately, I think the term law enforcement is appropriate right now because that's all we asking. Community outcomes, just so you know. So yes, should a better term be coined? Yes.
It'll provide a better outline just based upon the verbiage.
In a lot of ways, I think so. Yeah.
I love branding for that reason because it's really an exploration in psychological behavior, and it's a lot of Dr. Heather Berlin, who she has a podcast. I forget the name, but I've listened to it, and she also appears on the Star Talk network. She talks. She's a mental health professional, neuroscientist, and she talks about thought engineering a lot and how people are designed. Not some might call it buzz terms, but it could also just be words, sounds, smells, anything and any sense that could be engaged by the individual. Not everyone can see, right? Every sense that can be engaged, boom. That it's just there's so many useful tools at whatever it is at its disposal, because the neuroscience of the human mind is so easily the attention so easily caught because of engineering, and it's really interesting science going into it.
Well, I think we got way off topic. We started talking about space and video games, and I don't know. Here we are. It's a live show. We're not playing a video game this week, so don't expect too much in the way of content from us.
Oh, this is content. Hey man, you're in the know about how a system works.
Everything is content.
That's
right.
So
when I was studying German philosophy, it was Nietzsche who said, "Man has a will to system."
That's right.
And I think what he may have been trying to say was, look, we like to make sense of the world. The world's scary. It's big. It's able to take control. So we systematize. Nietzsche was also saying that I think essentially those systems that keep the real potential, the Ubermensch, down. So I love systems, and they are the whole reason why the meek shall inherit the earth, sort of prophecy or proverb, because without systems they would be crushed by others.
Let's see. It's I guess I can just check my laptop. 340. That's your 640.
Yep.
What's your timeline like?
I'm going to ditch you any minute now. No, I'm going to ditch you any minute now. Well, so any other birthday plans? It's early there for you still. Dinner, someone cooking something special, drinking something special, seeing someone special.
I mean, yeah, my wife.
There you go. See? Boom. Happy birthday already.
But also, I think he's COVID free. He's gonna come by. We're grilling. We got steaks, so we're gonna be marinating some steaks.
Do you plan on being 6 foot separated during that time?
Yeah. Probably should.
Because we'll be grilling when he gets here. So, okay, how do we make sure that we have a fun but COVID-informed experience in the backyard?
I mean, just don't breathe on people, and if you kind of measure anything, is take a look. If you feel anything, any doubt anything in your gut, get out of there. Don't even, whatever it is, even if it's the grocery store, and if it looks really busy, nope, don't do it.
Yeah. I stopped going to the farmer's market because it just got it got too busy. There would be, they have rules. Wear a mask. Be distant. Only have one person from your party come shop. Well, I've still seen families of 4 or 5 people, no masks, going there to booths, one booth to the other, and they're not respecting the designed flow.
No mask person? Fuck you.
At least 2 people murdered because of no masks, because they were told to wear a mask. A loss of life because it didn't want to wear a mask.
To do.
Well, okay, yes. If everyone had an Avengers mask, fine.
And you can still podcast.
Wow. Yeah.
This is all you have to do. I've done podcasts with people socially distanced, wiping down the mics only because I didn't want to have to touch too many things.
Sure, I understand.
And sure, you have to kind of raise your voice, maybe back off the mic a little bit because you have to shout through it.
Yeah.
You have to talk through cloth.
Yeah.
And it doesn't breed the best conversation because it just feels like you're being shouted at. But this is all you have to do, folks. It's not hard.
I get it.
Wear your goddamn mask.
So we'll be wearing masks when Dad's here. And yeah, do wish times are different? Sure. But you know what? I'm healthy. She's healthy. Baby's healthy. The roof leaked a little bit. Fine, it's not falling down. We have a lot more to be grateful of, and a lot more could go wrong. So we're still counting our blessings.
That's your roof falling off. It's such the perfect metaphor for 2020. Like 2020 for privileged white people.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna end it there. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, folks. Thank you for tuning in. This, of course, has been
Steve
Controller. Anything to plug, Matt? Anything you want people to check out? Anything that you may have released and through Yellow House Studios?
No. This episode just seems a lot more focused, perhaps on social issues, not just in gaming but otherwise. So, just remind people, if you can, try and reflect on what makes you think you're privileged or entitled to something. If something upsets you, try to think about why, and maybe try and put yourself in the headspace of someone else who that might be benefiting, and you might find a good reason why something is the way it is. Even if it's not for you, doesn't mean it's not okay.
Bro, you're going to be an exceptional father. I am so proud of you. I love you so much, man. This podcast, it's so much fun.
Thanks.
All right, bro.
Thanks.
Well, you go ahead and get the hell out of here, and I'll wrap it up.
Okay, take it.
All right, much love, champ.
All
right, folks. There he goes. There goes Matt Channing. That's it.